really powerful mindset is like, it's so important because things go wrong in business. And when you're starting out as well, like you start second guessing different things that you're doing, and you wonder sometimes whether or not you've made the right decision. So having a really powerful mindset is just essential for all of this. And knowing that mindset is 95% of what we do, I want to talk to you today about how often have you ever experienced that fear kicks in when you go to make a powerful decision. A lot of people don't know about this and don't fully understand it, and truly believe that the logical approach, or what is going on outside of you and external to you, is a legitimate reason to make or not make a decision. And that's just not true. That's not the case at all. It's down to our conditioning. But fear does kick in when we make powerful decisions. And I want to like drive this home with you today so that you can go on to create incredible results. So for those of you that don't know me, hi, I'm Joanne O'Halloran, and I am a business mentor and sales expert for new coaches who want to sign their first 3 to 5 clients and beyond. So when you're new and you're either deciding to go set up your business, or maybe you're deciding to put out your first offer, maybe you're even before that, maybe you're deciding that, you're going to put up your first post on social media, maybe you're going to go live on social media, and you get that, oh shit, I can't do this. Fear kicks in. This is like such a bad idea. And then you get all the reasons like in your mind as to why this is like the most ridiculous thing that you could ever think of to do. And you go into this kind of self beat up, or self abuse, if you want to even call it that, because we can say some horrendous things to ourselves. But fear does kick in. It absolutely kicks in. So how, first of all, can you identify it? And then what do you do when it happens? So the very first thing that I always teach people is that whenever you're making a decision to do something you have never done before, one of two things will happen. It will either be great, okay, that's it, that's done. For example, if you're going on your first holiday ever, be like, okay, that's done. It's a bit of money, but you already have it planned out, therefore you know it's going to be okay, right? Or you could be making this huge, potentially life-changing decision for yourself, which could be to set up your own business. Could even be to buy a house. It could be to move countries, right? It's something that is huge, that is going to change your life. When you make that decision, you're making it from a place of what you want, right? What you truly want, which is exactly what you want to do. You have a vision in your mind, you know what it is that you want to create, and you're like, that's it, this will get me there. So you say yes, you're an absolute yes, 100%, no questions asked. After you make that decision though, you may say to yourself, oh, well, now that I've had time to think about it, I can see that all these other things are going on in my life. It might not be the best time. Or, like now all these bills are coming in, probably don't have the money to do it. Or, you might share with somebody what it is that you're planning to do, and they give you a loads of reasons as to why it's not a good time, why it's not going to work out. Or here's all the people that they knew that started something and failed it. And then you go, okay, I'm going to latch on to all of that information, and I'm going to pull back on the decision that I've made. That is how 95, actually more than that, 97% of people operate, because they don't realize that they're doing it. And your mindset will be what drives you forward and creates the success that you want, or stops you in your track. Now, the fun thing about mindset is it's not straightforward, and it will be, it goes like this, right? So it can be a bit of a battle, and there's times when it feels really, really challenging. And if you're the type of personality, for example, that I have, which is I'm either in or I'm out, there's nothing in between. And prior to this, I needed to feel like I was in control. So that I was in control of the decisions, I was in control of the outcome, and I would only share what I thought sorry, let me rephrase that. I would only share when I was comfortable with what I was sharing. So I wouldn't actually share what was going on in my life. And this is I'm not even talking about online, I'm talking about in life in general. I wouldn't share anything that was going on in my life, and it could have been anything. It could have been like conversations I was having with my daughter, my partner at the time, stuff that was going on in work. I wouldn't share that, number one, if it wasn't positive, and number two, if I wasn't comfortable with how I felt about what was going on, which is super controlled. However, when I started my business, that was a massive block for me, huge block for me, because I couldn't be in control all the time. So by me needing to be in control and me needing to feel comfortable before I shared if something was or was not working, I wasn't moving forward at any pace because I wasn't, so anyone that was around me, I wasn't sharing with them. So, like, say, coaches or stuff like that, I wasn't sharing with them how I felt to be able to work through it. So, this is why mindset is so, so, so important in business, and you can't avoid it. If you avoid it, you will stay exactly where you are. And I often say, like, you can be right or you can be happy. If you want to be right about the way things are in your business right now, great. That is exactly how things are going to continue to go. But if you really want to be happy and you want to create the success that you want, you've got to be willing to let go of what you think you know, what you think things should look like, and how you think things should go so that you can have what you want. So, fear itself is, we often think that fear is going to come up, like, like if you hate public speaking and that like feeling in the pit of your tummy, or like you'll get like a dry throat, or maybe you'll get the sweaty pits, or you'll have to go to the toilet all the time. That's your body's nervous system reacting to what's going on around you. But that isn't really how fear shows up for the majority of people. That's when it's like at the other end of it and it's your body is physically reacting to this. However, how fear can show up, and it's really important that you note this and know how it shows up for you, is it can show up in terms of the thoughts that run through your mind. So, anytime I was creating something positive, my thoughts would automatically go into why I was not able to do this. So, all the reasons why. So, even if I think back to when I started my coaching business, so you're talking about in 2020, and I started making money. The first month I made money, I got so excited, right? As most people do, because you're like, yes, my business is finally legitimate. I'm making money. And then straight after it happened, I literally went into a self beat up of, well, no, I'm not a good coach. Sure, what results am I going to get them? Why would they get to coach from me? Oh my God, they're asking all these questions. I'm clearly not covering everything that they need to. Like, these thoughts were what were running through my mind, which is self beat up. But self beat up based on what? It's coming from fear. It's coming from a place of fear. And it would have stopped me if I had have let it. So you have to recognize the patterns in which fear shows up for you and how it presents itself in your life. Another fun way for me was that I am queen bee at distracting myself from doing lots of different things. So, a queen bee of distractions. And if I was, so for example, again, if I decided that I was going to do all my lives, right, and I was going to do trainings and all these fun things, that now are not a bother to me, but back then were such a big deal. Like, I scared shitless doing them. I was like, oh my God, I hope nobody's going to be on, but I need people to be on to comment. And then you'd be looking at them afterwards to see what people used to say. So when I was planning for stuff like that and planning them in, conveniently the hoovering would need to be done in the house. Conveniently, the washing would need to be done. Now, this washing could have been sitting there for, a couple of days, but all of a sudden now, because I was taking action that was going to propel me forward, it was more important. So they are ways in which fear shows up. And it's really important that you connect with how it shows up for you. And I actually would write it down. I used to have post-its on my wall here of all the different ways that fear showed up for me. So one of them would be that I would create stories in my head about why I wasn't good enough. Another one is I used to have the same conversation. It was an argument that I'd had with one of my cousins years ago. I mean, like when we were kids. And that would come back into my head. And I all of a sudden would feel super angry towards her, even though she had nothing got to do with the situation. But it was a great way to distract. And it was a great way for my ego to kick in and show me why I wasn't good enough and give me something else to focus on so that I would not take the action that was required. So I had a list across my wall here on post-it notes of all the different ways that fear would show up for me. So like I said, hoovering was one. That conversation with my cousin was another. I knew the moment that I made a decision to move forward with something, that fear would kick in and I would be surrounded by all the reasons as to why not. I normally as well had a habit developed that I didn't realize, where I would call my mum to let her know what was going on. And I would always know the questions that she was going to ask. And this is not a criticism of my mum, but it's bringing awareness to my pattern. That was the only time I called her at this specific time, was when I was moving forward to make it, when I'd made a decision on something, because she would tell me all the reasons why it wasn't a good idea. All the reasons. But any other time I wouldn't make that phone call at that time. So that was my pattern. So they will show up in multiple different ways. But like, I just want to share with you as well what you may do that will create the fear. So, like I said, one of them might be a really big decision. So, for example, it could be that you're going live for the first time and you're talking about your service and you're sharing how people can work with you. So then the moment you get off that live, or even when you're on it, when you're on the live, you may decide then that you're not actually going to make the offer and invite people to come and work with you, because you'll have decided there's nobody on, what's the point? Or um you're not ready yet. Like, there'll be some reason that you will come up with. That's fear. Another one is, and I see this one so frequently, is when you're going to invest in a coach. And this is always brilliant for new coaches to understand. How we buy is how we sell. So there's a whole psychology behind this, which I love. So how you buy is how you sell. So if you hold back on investing in yourself, how do you think you're going to sell to clients? You're going to do the same. You're going to hold back from doing it. Versus if you are an all in person and you go all in and you buy like that, like you make a decision and you stick to your commitment and you operate from a place of integrity and you make a decision, you will sell the same way. But there's different buyer styles and different selling styles. At the very beginning of your journey, what a lot of new coaches don't realize is how they buy is how they sell, and that they're actually blocking themselves from generating sales. So if you ever see somebody making sales pretty quickly on, it's normally because they're direct buyer, therefore they're a direct seller. They don't even assume that there's going to be objections, because that's how they buy. It's like, but sure, if you're in, you're in. Like, what's there to talk about? You can totally do it. But note that of yourself. What is your buying style? So if you don't know what your buying style is, it's going to be reflected in your selling style. So if you hold back from selling, that will be a direct reflection of your selling style. If you go all in and you get frustrated when people don't buy from you immediately, then that's also a direct reflection of your buying style. But that's where fear will kick in too, is when people come up with objections and you're not clear on what your buying style is. And when you're investing in your own coach, like, so you're investing in yourself so that you can develop and you can go beyond. How does fear kick in for you? Do you go with your intuition and you make your decision and then go, oh crap, this is the wrong time? I see this happening very often with new coaches. And I'll also see it as well. There's also a really interesting crossover with certain things. So anyone that I've seen that is afraid to invest in themselves, so then they'll say yes, and then they will pull back because they've, in their mind, they're saying they've had time to think about it. They also, if you look at their pricing on the other end, it's a low offer pricing that they're doing, because they don't believe that anyone is going to buy from them. So it's always interesting to see the crossover, which is why I'm talking to you about mindset around fear today, because they go hand in hand, and it truly matters because it will infiltrate every single solitary piece of your business. So it's really important to work on it. Also think as well, like if you're in a sales call and an objection comes in, do you go into a blind panic when somebody is like, oh my goodness, I can't afford that. It's more than what I thought it was. I don't think now is the right time. A lot of people do when they're new, because they're not in the habit of practicing sales calls and practicing what we'll call them objections, because that's what a lot of people call them, but they're not. It's just a fear. And what a lot of people don't realize is when somebody says, that they can't afford it, or that, they don't have time right now to do it, they booked a call, which means that they do. They know that there's an investment. They know what, and that can be an investment of their time. It could be an investment of their energy. It can be investment money-wise. But what's really happening at that time is that fear is instantly kicking in, and they're not confident that they're going to get the results that you're talking about. So that's a beautiful opportunity to support somebody where they're at. Because I always say, if this is a paying client, how would you approach that situation? You do the same thing when it's a sales call, the exact same thing. It's just about supporting somebody where they're at to get to where they want to be. And that's totally your job as a coach. But fear is going to kick in. So how can you get yourself into a place where you can have that steely mindset that fear is going to happen? It's not, well, I might or I might not. No, it will. It will. There's no deviating from it. It absolutely will. It's going to happen. So how can you set yourself up that when fear kicks in, that you're able to work through it and not sabotage yourself? So I'm going to share that with you. So the first thing that you get to do is really sit and think and bring awareness to how fear shows up for you. So I gave you some examples. They're not all my examples, but there's some examples of how fear can show up for you. And if I even give you an example of conversations I've had with women this week alone on sales calls, let me share some other fears that have come up. So one of them is make a decision and then pull back, because now it's like, here's all these other things that are now a priority that weren't when they booked the call. So it's being able to support somebody through with that, to say, well, okay, well, why are they more of a priority than this right now for you? When you came on the call, you were like a 10 out of 10, being committed to it, and now you're not. So what's actually changing? Just so you can support somebody when this takes place. But another one that came up as well is language barriers. So this one has become quite common lately, is language barriers. Somebody perceiving that they have a language barrier to be able to create what they want. That's a fear piece. Because if somebody is booking a call and they're having a conversation and what they say is not their native language, and you can have a full-blown conversation, there is no gap. So it's fear. So it's to look at yourself and go, okay, what are the fears and how do they come up for me? So some of them could be procrastination, people pleasing, seeking validation from others, needing to be in control, needing to have all the details. The Hoover could come out. You focus on something that has been there for a while, but now all of a sudden it's an issue. That would be me. But their ones just really bring awareness to what other ways fear shows up for you. So we're going to operate off 3 A's. So the first thing is to bring like really good awareness to how fear shows up for you. Then the second part is that you've got to accept that this is what happens. This is your ego driving you. It's not a true reality. It's just your ego driving you. So you've got to accept that. Now, if you're like me and you're that like real direct controller type, it is harder to accept, I have found. So I have some clients that are great at bringing awareness to things that are working and aren't working, and will accept it, but they struggle to take the action. Whereas like me, I have some clients like me that will struggle to bring awareness to it, refuse point blank to accept it, and then you don't even get to the action part. So there's no right or wrong in this. It's just knowing how you operate and be willing to stay curious and keep working through it. So make a list of all the ways that fear shows up for you that you're aware of right now, because consciously what you're aware of will be different to the subconscious. But as you go through this and as you do this on a regular basis, it will become more obvious. Like I would never have said before that manipulation was one of my ways that fear shows up. And you might be saying, oh my goodness, that's such a harsh word. It is. I have zero emotional attachment to it now, but that's exactly what it is. So let me give you an example. When I was in, not my last corporate job, but the one before that, so way before I started my business, I was a department head, and speaking to my team was obviously part for the course, of course, because I had a team of 18 people. But also we were a national company, and because I was a department head, speaking at our company events was part and parcel of the job. But I was terrified. Like, I mean, petrified. The thought of speaking to anybody outside of my team was like, made me feel physically sick. So I used to create ways that I didn't have to do it. So this is what I mean. That's manipulation, right? So I would give my team members opportunities to be able to speak to these, speak to other people, get seen, and hone their presentation skills and all that. So I framed it to them that it was to support them, which it did. However, what was underneath that was I just didn't want to do it because I was flat out terrified, petrified, felt physically sick, and I'd rather quit my job than actually go do that. So that's real honesty. Now, 3 years ago, would I have said that to you? No, I wouldn't. I had zero awareness that that was what was going on, but that's how it showed up. Literally, that is how it showed up. So for me, manipulation was a big one, but that's an example of how when you keep working through it, you figure that out, versus at the start, it was like, no, I feel sick. I don't want to do it. So make a list of all the ways in which you know right now the fear shows up for you. And ask other people as well. Like, have they seen, if you're fearful about something, how it happens, or if you're uncomfortable, if you're uneasy, if something is new for you, if something is the unknown, if something happens that maybe would be dramatic, how do you react and how do you respond to that? That will give you a really good idea of ways in which fear shows up for you. Now, the second thing is are you going to accept that that's true? Only you can say yes or no to that. There cannot be a condition attached to it. It can't be a yeah, but, which is how I used to be. It was like, yes, I know that, but they've done that. And then once they stop doing that, then I'll be okay. So there can't be a condition attached to it. You've got to just accept it, yes or no. And the third part is, are you willing to take action to move past it? So the fear doesn't go away, but your knowledge of what happens when you take action increases. So again, let me give you an example. The very first time I ever did a virtual summit globally with people scared the shit out of me. Okay. Scared the shit out of me. Because I was speaking to people that were multimillionaires. I was speaking to people that had incredibly successful businesses, and I was asking them to collaborate with me to create an event. What did I have to offer them? Literally nothing. Literally nothing. So it naturally brought up that the control in me was not there. So I was like, it feels super uncomfortable. However, I did it anyway. And I kid you not, I share this quite a lot whenever I'm doing masterclass and stuff. So my phone is here. I literally had my phone sitting right beside me on my laptop. And I had a friend of mine on there on FaceTime with me so that I would take the action steps. I didn't need her to say anything. I didn't need her to do anything, but it was a way to keep me accountable so that I would do the scary actions so that I could have what I wanted. That is how you move past fear. That is how you build in your mindset. Like, there's 3 questions that I insist my clients do every single solitary day, non-negotiable. The first one is, what are they creating that day? So whatever it is. So whether some of them are like brand new, so they're doing market research. Others are have had a business for a while, but they're not generating the results that they want. So they are doing lives and doing events in order to be able to bring leads and traffic in. So whatever they're creating that day, they have to declare it. Next 2 questions are what are super important. What do they need support with to make it happen? And who do they need support from to make it happen? Not can they do it, not will they do it, absolutely not. They are not questions to ask, but it's what do I need support with and who do I need support from in order to make it happen, so that you're letting go of any feelings that you have around it and you're focusing on what the tangible result is that you want to create. It feels uncomfortable at the start, it feels uncomfortable in the middle, and sometimes it feels uncomfortable at the end. But we look for confidence and to feel like steely confident about something before we'll take action. And the problem with that is we truly will only feel confident when we see the results. We're not going to see the results because it's like trying to put the cart before the horse, right? You're not going to see the results until you take the action. So what are you going to do? You have a choice now. You can sit there and go, well, screw it. I'm not going to do anything because I don't feel confident. Or you can go, I know I'll feel confident when I have that done. So these are what you get to look into. These are what you get to check in with about yourself and decide what action you're going to take. I wish I could say that there was a simple way around this, but there isn't. It is about moving forward consistently. It is about taking the action steps. It is about biting it off bit by bit, chunk by chunk, so that you can have what you want. Look at where you are now and look at where you were 6 weeks ago. Look at where you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago. What do you know now that you didn't know then? What action steps have you taken now that you haven't done then? So you're the only person that knows the answer to this. Either way, you're growing, right? Something new has happened. But there's things that are happening in the world that our minds are constantly evolving. But if you're in business and where you are now is where you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, and you want to catapult yourself forward as a coach and start making money and start really impacting people's lives, because the one thing I hear so many coaches say when they come initially, right, it's always, well, I want to earn X. That's not really what they want. What they want is to make a difference in people's lives and to be able to transform somebody from where they are to where they want to be. So if you want to do that and you want to really start making an impact, book a call with me. The link for the call is in my bio, but book a call with me and let's see how together we can get you there. There's a very specific framework that I use, my takeoff framework, which will get your business to take off. I have 100% success rate with my clients because of this framework. We get in the foundations, we build them in, they're done at the very, very beginning so that you can capitalize on it at the end. And we work through your mindset as we're going, but you have the exact strategy that will get you your first 3 to 5 clients and beyond. What I teach you is exactly what I use. There's nothing any different in it. So if it's working for me, it will work for you. But the beautiful thing about being supported is that I can help you navigate the gaps that are there and help you see what your blind spots are in order to be able to get the results that you want from the actions that you're taking. Because we can all be busy, right? It's very easy to be busy and to be doing lots of things. But if you're not getting the results, there's something not working. There's something that's preventing you from doing that. So let's figure it out together and let's get you the results that you want. Have a fantastic weekend.